guess I'll say hello. I'm broadcasting live as far as I know. And I guess a couple things to say here. I haven't been uploading a lot to my channel, and I really should be, and I apologize for just being out of it and not getting things uploaded. And I got a couple ideas mulling around, and what I think is happening is I got so many different ideas that I just can't focus on one to concentrate on making a concise video. And plus, making videos is like kind of boring. Going live is just simply easier, but it just clutters up my channel with kind of rambling and stuff like that. But one thing in the title here is JamKazam. Have you guys heard of JamKazam? JamKazam. It's this online jamming platform where you can jam with other people or perhaps take lessons from people like me who plan to start teaching on JamKazam, if it's possible. What I'm finding out right now is the same stuff that I've been finding out or started to find out when I started to connect to JamKazam back in 2014. And back then it was worked at first, and then you needed more equipment. The way you were hooking up wasn't the right way. Things were getting more, they were making their service better, so you needed better equipment. So you started chasing their equipment stuff around. It works for a while. The last I was dealing with them, I got this Behringer UM2, which was the recommended, like, cheapo. If you want to get in the door and get something good, get this Behringer UM2. Well, now I'm back trying to hook up with JamKazam again, and what do I got? The Behringer UM2 is the one that doesn't work with Windows. So apparently, like, you know, the thing is upgraded to the JamKazam platform's upgraded to the standard of like a Windows 10 computer. And since I'm running still Windows 7, everything is getting outdated, like just the same way I fell off the wagon when XP was getting outdated, and I couldn't really roll with JamKazam anymore then. So, I'm looking probably to get, I can probably get in the door for another 99 bucks again. That's another $100 away. But this time I plan to teach online, which is the same thing they lured me in with last time, but maybe I can make some of that money back and eventually get paid for teaching people online. So that's that. That's the JamKazam thing. But look for me on there. Leave a comment if you want to jam on JamKazam. I got to adjust my screen here on my computer so I can see some comments. I'm watching myself on OBS. I tried to jam, if you noticed on my channel, I went earlier, you can jam on, you can broadcast on YouTube through JamKazam, but it was, again, just way quirkier than it needed to be, and here we are on OBS, and it's running very smooth, so we're having an entertaining time with my hand on a mouse. Wow, very cool, right? Let's get here to there. Much better. Okay. I just edited the description box for the video. Hopefully it's still not saying that we're doing anything with Kid Charlemagne. We did that last week. So this week, actually I've been working on, as the title suggests for this live broadcast, Starship Trooper from Yes, and this one part that's really cool that I'd never ever learned before, and finally just started bugging me, and I concentrated on it, and within a short amount of time I had the lick, and now I had it like understood, and now I sort of have it under my fingers pretty good most times I run through, and it's very interesting to play. It really leads into itself, and so not only is it something really cool to be able to pull off and makes me want to learn the rest of the song, it also is something interesting to analyze music theory wise, because it's really out there, and it's really cool why this works and why it sounds so cool. So let me run you through that real quick. You've probably heard this part to the song. It's after this part in the song. was me just trying to do it, you know, sloppy rock guitar style with a pick. I could stand to get much better as a fingerpick player, probably practicing that lick, or just being able to fingerpick and anything in general, or at least that part. Yeah, something like that. So I should get this other camera a little focusing on my guitar so you can see what we're doing there. And it's pretty neat how that worked. I was looking at what the theory is. It sounds very, it really goes somewhere that I don't find. You usually can't manipulate the movement that makes through the major scale. I don't know if that made any sense to you, but I mean, like, when you jam out major scale, you know, there's a whole lot of cool, you know, chord progressions and stuff and ways it moves, and that does something a little more. So I wondered, like, you know, what's the deal with what's going on there? And it's pretty much like those chords. It's based on 4 chords, that part. I guess let's get into the music theory of that little piece of Starship Trooper. I guess that's what we're talking about right now. So here we go. Let's break it down into 4 parts. Part 1. Part 2. Part 3. Part 4. So it's based on, if you break it down that way, you can split it up into 4 chords. This is mostly over an A major chord, but you can even suspend it. And I'll tell you why in a second. Then you have this. It's based on a, well, let's just go easy real fast. E major, G major, F major, A sharp major, A, and repeat. And it kind of goes round on itself. And the neat thing about that is that that's not in one diatonic key, because there's no part in a diatonic scale where 3 or even 4 major chords follow each other. And there's no part where there's 2 major chords a half step apart. So it's pretty weird. But that's a very basic understanding. You can understand it by thinking, by hearing a couple different things about it. The chords, there's no real chord playing in the background. There's no instrument playing the chord. Those lines that Steve Howe's playing are basically little arpeggiations of the chords that are sounding, and the chord tones coming in the background are actually on those vocal parts, the harmonies, the vocal harmonies you hear in the back. And so I kind of mapped them out, and it's very rough. It may not be perfect, but here's what I got. For the first chord, it's... See if I can get my guitar on video here. Well, that was quick and easy. That's the 9th fret and the G string, sorry, 9th fret, G string, 7th fret, the bottom 2 strings, so that rings out over the A chord. Then we have this over the G chord. So what that is, it's kind of like it's very chordal. It's a stacked bunch of fourths there. Starting from the 5th, the D. So what would that be? D, G. C, D, G, C. So the cool thing is that's kind of so it's like somewhat suspended there, and I'll tell you about the way I think it all works, how it all pieces together, being from out of the scale. So that's basically based on now. That's all that's played. And those harmony notes in the background. Just leave it a little open for interpretation, but it's major. It's based on the G, either major, or could be G Lydian, if you kind of consider that. There's some. Oh, there's the 5th. Pretty fun, huh? It's got a, it's like a G with the 4th in it, so it's kind of like it's Lydian again. So it's kind of like it went from a Lydian, a little A Lydian riff to a G Lydian riff. Which, if it did do that, it's sharing 5 notes, so it's a pretty congruent, easily borrowable chord in any music songwriting. To be quite frank with you, your 6th, to be quite frank with you, of course, from your 1 chord, your 4 and your 5 chords that make up the blues and most guts of major songs, are the 2 easiest key changes to borrow from. Make your root note suddenly on the 4th, and you borrow 6 notes. Make it suddenly on the 5th, and you borrow 6 notes. And if you make it a half step below, you borrow 5 notes. And if you make it a half step above, you borrow 5 notes. Believe it or not, it's true. And graph paper will show that to you, but we're not going to go there today. Some other notes or lessons I have suggest that. So, getting back to the point, that's the G. Then we go to here he's once again just based on his line is based on the F major chord. With a yeah, pretty basic stuff. Nothing to it. But the chord, this is what the chord did. or the vocal part in the background. The harmonies did something a little different there. So we had the first harmonies doing this, then we had the second harmonies doing this, then we have the other harmony turning into a those are two very congruent chords, the F major and the C major. In the key of C, those are both major chords, so there's some resemblance there as well. And so basically in the key of C, F is Lydian, so perhaps we're just figuring out that once again he made a nice Lydian kind of line over the F, but I'm not hearing the key Lydian note there, which would be the B. We're a half step above, so either way, those are some extensions you can figure out on your own, and I encourage you to do that. Why have me spell everything out for you? That would mean I would have to be prepared and making you a real lesson and concentrating, and you know who wants to do that. So, finally we have the last chord here. And he treats that like a here it just went down a half step and back up. That could suggest that this was like the one that the major here is just standard Ionian. However, it could be maybe I'm not hearing something in the background that they got this note ringing out somewhere on a keyboard or something like that, perhaps, to really nail in the solidify the Lydian sound there too, because it would make some theory sense in how that sounded kind of cool. They just went Lydian, dropped the key Lydian, dropped the key Lydian, and then way up here to Lydian. Perhaps. So, but all those moves that they made that basically jumped keys all had still some relativity to each other, enough relativity that it would make musical sense and not sound just weird or random or, you know, like the stuff you play when you don't know what you're doing and it sounds just, you know, crazy and awful and stuff like that. It doesn't have any music to it. But if you look at the chords here, something kind of appears. You got the first chord, the kind of like the bottom of a suspended chord there. Then it changes to this. So it goes from this to this. They sound different, but they don't sound wrong. There's some kind of like, you know, progressive fusion-y kind of thing going on there. It's not, doesn't sound like you know, that's I mean, I suppose you could say that just about anything if you really listened to it and just played it by itself, but so in any event, it's not too out of the question. And here's one kicker about it. They do something that chord changes should do, and where the tones are moving a half step from each other. We have two tones moving a half step up, and this one's moving a whole step down. So okay, and what that movement creates is a chord, this chordal thing we talked about here, with just a stacked bunch of fourths. Then we got, and if you notice, two of those notes stayed the same, so there's some connection between those chords, the G chordal thing and the new CF thing, while the F, kind of the bass, and is ringing out F. And so what is that based on an F note? It's kind of like a major seventh. Almost based on this chord. Okay, so that really hammers home the it just makes a really cool shift over from that part he does to that part, and moving on from there, because I know that didn't make any sense what I just said, but because you're like, that what? I'm just kind of thinking to myself now, and I know when I think to myself, I watch these videos and go, I'm just sitting there rambling, not making any sense. So hopefully you're following along. You might be. I don't know. I shouldn't second guess myself so much. Here we go. The final chord is this. So it's no connecting notes, but it's basically kind of a major shape to another major shape. Why I say major shape? Because it's like the bottom of a cowboy chord, a cowboy major chord. So we have Did you hear it all? Oh, that's my little rambling there with Starship Trooper, having fun with that. And while I'm messing around with that at home, looking at my graph charts, figuring things out, I'm not making lessons. And because it's like a journey, I'm kind of bringing you along on my journey today, and how your journey can be if you just start really understanding the things that you're playing, and be able to really look at things in a deep manner and get them figured out for yourself, so that it can lead you in how to create your own cool parts. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm showing you my journey so you can lead into your own journey doing the same thing, figuring stuff out, because you can put things on graph paper, and music starts to make sense to you, because it just starts plugging into your mind. Okay, let's switch gears here from no more Starship blooper. Oh, wait a minute. No. Okay, sorry. One more thing with Starship Trooper, and that is this. I made a little backing track here using those chords. And a bass line, and a drum beat on my Beat Buddy pedal, so I'm going to get that going here. Ooh. So listen up here, and I'm gonna get a beat going, and I'll start playing some things here. Starship Trooper, custom, homemade terribleness. Here we go. Syncing up the beat buddy with the jam. And there's the beat. Yeah, so that's it. I thought it was kind of cool, a little neat exercise. As sloppy as it sounded, it's kind of cool to get everything together. For those of you beginning in looping, beginning in understanding music, you kind of know where I'm going here. So break that riff down into 4 parts if you want to learn it, and it's pretty, it's not too unattainable. It's a lot of picking, but you get it after a while. Especially if you just start to listen and start to forget about how to play it. Just kind of listen for, let the, what I did is let the tutorials tell me kind of where to put my fingers, and then kind of get it. But as I worked it, it was frustrating and I couldn't get it. And then as I just kind of let go and knew my fingers are supposed to be here, it just suddenly starts to kind of come through. And next thing you know, you're just playing it and it goes deep like that. Anyways, so there's that. It's jamming modes. What about jamming in modes? Modes for toads. No. Modes, but let's consider how modes are moods. Modes, moods. And you want to learn to be able to not only play across your whole neck of your instrument, your guitar, and know the moods for their moods. Know the modes for their moods, and know how to elicit any one you want. So I'm going to explore a whole bunch of different moods here. I guess I'll try to shout out which one I'm kind of thinking of at the moment there, and see if you can hear the difference. And I'm only going to be evoking these modes, these modal sounds, by the tones I choose on my instrument, the frets I choose, the notes I choose. Same thing. But if I don't choose right, the mode won't come through, the right sound won't come through. So to manipulate a mode, because they're all kind of very closely related, so to really pull out the nuance of one particular mode and expect it, you're not going to have to make it so hard for the audience to listen for it and hear it. You're going to try to make it obvious in what you're playing. You really have to know your fretboard if you want to just kind of flow around the place and not get locked in one kind of spot or get boring. Now, Still might get boring. You know, that's up to you, the listener. But I'm going to do my best to avoid that. And I have work to do here. See, modes is kind of complex because, see, modes don't just happen from one instrument. It's a combination of all the instruments. If they all have to be kind of in the know about what they're trying to evoke in order to play the exact little nuanced notes that will create a mode, which will make a major mode sound like one of the other major modes. So, for example, the difference between Lydian and Ionian is one note. And so you're missing that one note, you're not going to evoke the sound of Lydian. And if you're thinking, wow, what can one note do to scale? There you go. You know, it's not much, but it's subtle enough. And people's ears do pick that up. And that's where you as a musician get good at playing those notes and evoking tones and learning where to work that tone in, and if you can, or just by ear, or maybe targeted and mentally in a pattern or something. But anyways, it's about evoking that special note, and it's about the whole band. So to get to the point, if a band is together, there's a whole bunch of chords happening in a certain way, it's very easy to evoke a mode, and the soloist just has to groove to the other instruments. It's where you'd make the lines there. Here, in this example, I'm not even going to play a chord in the background. I might add in a second the character note in the high register of the background tone, but that's all I'm going to give you is a background note. What I'm not going to do is just try to play these shapes, these modal shapes, and expect you to hear Dorian come up, because I'm playing what your guitar teacher told you is a Dorian shape. I'm going to give you your Dorian shape here based on a root note, or any note. I'm not going to tell you what note it is, but here you go. Here would be a Dorian shape. Okay, I fucked it up, sorry. Dorian, one more time. But that could have been any mode. You know why it could have been any mode? Because your ear had nothing to relate to. You just heard the tones. The reason these tones sounded somewhat okay, but boring, I'll tell you in a second. Okay, so everything kind of sounded like it went together. Nothing like, no notes clashed, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything. There was no real emotion because, and that was the boredom of the piece, because you had no root note to tie it together. You, at the very minimum, need to establish a root note, because your ear doesn't know where to frame that scale of notes. So, for example, there's a series of notes. Do, re, mi, fa, sol. Right? Now if I play this. Sounded kind of minor, right? Now if I play this. Same pool of notes. Okay, so that would sound more major because I played a D major scale. But if the root's over here, those notes in relation to this root note ringing out suggest to your ear that I'm playing in Mixolydian, even if I don't start on the sixth note like the classical instructions tell you. In order to make a Mixolydian scale, or you start on that note and go back and forth from there, and it's like technically it would make the line Mixolydian, but it's not about music that someone's going to hear. If you want music someone's going to hear, you have to go a little deeper and understand that it's about root notes. Okay, so in that regard, let's get a root note going. Now that you know it's about root notes, let's get a root note going on. Use a keyboard. Get a cheap keyboard. They always help you. You can get a drone note going like that. We've got an F note going. Because F isn't so common. That'll really help you hear some mode, so. What have I done? Start again. See, a cool tone will help you feel more musical. Really mess it up. So. So, easy to get lost once you're jamming into mode, and that was Phrygian. Now you're thinking kind of Midian style. You want to float up in the air. too high, playing them notes. See, because you gotta get it right. We'll call that Lydian. It doesn't take too long, and all of a sudden you're that same old root note. You got a totally new tonality. And if I really want to nail that scale home in the backing track, I'm going to put this note. That's the real character note there, along with the root note. Is that an A sharp? Let's put an A sharp way high in the register here and see what that does. Okay. Apparently, when I'm on here on the fly, mumbling about lesson things, I looked down at my fretboard and I go, yeah, that's an A sharp, and it's not an A sharp. It's close. It's very near an A sharp, right? Well, that is a B. B and C. Should have known that. And so there you go. You're probably in the same kind of place in your journey. Here we go with F again. And a real A sharp sharp, right? A B. B. There's a B. Where's the B? There gotta be. Went into Ionian, but it didn't really sound that far off because they're not that far off, but I wasn't catching the character note there. did I go? I was thinking Pink Floyd there. Momentary Lapse of Reason album. I don't know if you heard, but there I went from E Phrygian by ringing out the low E note. And it's just simply what that root creates. Then I hit the F for the on the other 4 beats, imaginary beats there in my head, to create a more Lydian sound. So it's kind of like minor to major, which is kind of neat. Minor Phrygian to major Lydian, and they fall a half step apart there, which I don't think you can really do anywhere else in the scale. If you try to do that with, yeah, Dorian wouldn't be have nothing a half step above, and Ionian would have Locrian on the bottom, and that wouldn't be good. And Mixolydian would have a Lydian half step down, so that wouldn't work. Anyways, so now let's do Mixolydian. Oh my God, Mixolydian, same root notes. What's the big deal on a Mixolydian? That's this note right here. I said the wrong note. Yeah, you know, there you go. Like Mixolydian is there when you want to have like a major that's major sounding, but more playful sounding. It's got like a little more spirit to it, a little bouncier, a little more twisted. So. So I played good till I messed up. Anyways, I didn't put the accent note in there because I got too carried away just playing the damn thing. But there you go. I mean, it just kind of goes to show you, if you can, once you can get it to happen, you're gonna just keep going with it because it's so musical and so fun, and you'll have one any day to match the mood you're in. Some days you won't really gravitate toward Mixolydian because you're just not in that mood. You know, drivers pissed you off, and your boss said something, and coworkers are dicks, right? Oh, no, they're not. They're really cool. My coworkers are awesome. Hi, coworkers. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, um, so you'll just gravitate toward moods and modes that are suiting your taste that day. Let's do that in character note. And that would be a half step above the D, so that would be like a this. Eric Johnson riff. So there's a sample of modes. We didn't do Locrian. You know why? Nobody really uses Locrian. We'll be playing all day because Locrian doesn't really resolve. Let's hear it. Okay, now that I said it, we gotta hear it. How bad does Locrian really sound? Let's hear it. Sounded pretty close to minor there. Doesn't really ever resolve. Just kind of wanders around. It's got a use, but just not a common one. So, I guess that's my broadcasting live today. There was an hour of live crap, right? Probably. I'm sorry. I should say an hour of great stuff. Look at all that value I just gave you, right? Shouldn't I be positive? Have a great day, folks. It was really cool to have jammed with you. Hopefully, you guys, somebody hung around and probably commented. And while I didn't have my screen up because I know why. All right, so watching now, 1. I wonder if that means me. Maybe that means you out there. So if you're out there watching this, type something into your computer so I can know that you're watching while I adjust OBS here to get on my screen a little better. Yeah, why don't we do this? Oh, yeah, look at that. Perfect. Now I can see the chat and OBS, right? That seems like the way to go. Have a nice day. I appreciate anybody who watched this today. I don't see anybody commenting, so let me click something else here. Got it. Live chat replay. Okay. Alright, well, that's all you want to see of me. I doubt anybody is watching at this time, so I thank you all for how long you did watch, if you did, and hopefully you learned something useful. Have a great day. And if I only had a brain, I would know how to shut this off. Here we go. OBS, stop stream.